Okay, let's get going. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk about Arlo, which is RapDev's AI agent or collection suite of agents on ServiceNow. And what we're going to do is talk through the Arlos. We have 5 applications or plugins that are currently on the ServiceNow store that are all free to use. That they're designed to solve for use cases that are common on the ServiceNow platform. Then we'll talk about Agent Studio for a little bit, get into some of the design behind the framework, the agentic framework that ServiceNow has provided us with, and some of the agent tools that are also available. It'll give you a sneak peek into how some of these Arlos work today and how some of the Arlos will work going forward as we continue to build out even more exciting solutions. So out of the gate, I've got to click there to move the slide. So my name's Kyle Bruckner. I'm an engineering manager here at RapDev. I'm an old vet, probably employee 30 or something like that. Been here for almost 4 years, and I've spent over 15 years on the ServiceNow platform and been lucky enough to spend a lot of quality time with a lot of these shiny new things, the distracting butterflies, the new technology, all the AI bells and whistles that we get to play with today. So meeting Arlo, we currently have those 5 agents that are out on the store. We're nestling them into each of these domains that you see on the right. So over time, we'll see multiple Arlos within ITSM, ITOM, and SecOps, for example. And I'll just pop over to the store really quick. If you just head to the store and type in Arlo, you can see them all here. And these ones are all free to use. So go ahead and give those a shot when you can. So I want to take a moment to go over high level what each of these Arlos actually do. The first one here, Arlo for update set utility. This is the only one that we built to be purposed for the developers, for the admins on the system. And a lot of it is empathy, right? Because we've done this for quite a while, developing on the system. We know how much of a nuisance it is for technical writing and gathering release notes and even technical debt, trying to review what you've done in the past. And I'll demo a little bit of these at the end as well. So what this one does is we've built out a UI page that developers can get to by clicking a UI action on an update set. And if they click the Show AI Descriptions toggle here on this UI page, the system will reach out to the LLM that's configured, pass it in some of the object information from the XML updates table, and the LLM will provide a summary, a description of what was developed so that we can take away the need for technical writing and release notes and exploring technical debt. We can take that away from the developers and put that burden onto the machine. The next one, we've got Arlo for incident documentation. This one is, now all of these Arlos are designed to be invoked automatically by some event. It could be a point in your process where a value changes, right? Which would be driven by a business rule at that point, or a script include method, or a flow. But they're also enabled to be driven by human click, functional interaction. Maybe it's a UI action. So for example, if that UI action is clicked for the Arlo for incident documentation on an incident record, it will analyze the fields on the incident and find discrepancies within those values based on the context that's provided. So if the priority is out of whack or the urgency isn't set correctly. It can give those sorts of recommendations to make sure that the incident itself is in the right state, the right severity, so that it gets the right eyes on it and potentially the right SLA um, to keep the business going. The next one that we've built is Arlo for CI deduplication. It's a big one for CMDB admins. Uh, it's very, very time consuming to go through all of the duplicate CIs that get picked up. Um, I'm laughing because it's actually quite painful because there could be thousands, hundreds of thousands of these that people have to go through, especially when you think large enterprise, many discovery sources, service graph connectors, ServiceNow discovery, manual imports for whatever reason, and then duplicate CIs showing up. It could take 2-3 resources to maintain all of that. One, to clean up the duplicate CIs that exist, and then secondly, to analyze why those duplicate CIs are showing up in the first place. So what this tool does is tries to take some of that burden off of the ServiceNow admins, the CMDB administrators, to be more precise, and not only recommend how to merge the CIs, but automatically create a template, a merge template, and then execute that merge template, which basically makes it hands off to a CMDB administrator if that's the risk appetite level for a CMDB administrator. Now, with that said, this Arlo for CI deduplication ships with a pre-baked config, and that's all adjustable. So if the risk appetite fluctuates from customer to customer, those configs can be adjusted to maybe consider different discovery sources as a higher priority than others, to respect the reconciliation rules, or configured in other ways. So that's a good one, saves a lot of time. The next one we'll take a look at as well, Arlo for automated pull requests. So this one hinges on the integration with DevOps change velocity. So considering that's in place and change requests are being automatically created based on a PR and a pipeline running, the change request comes into ServiceNow. What Arlo for automated pull requests does is, given an issue in code that might be written incorrectly, a button on a change request exists to actually go ahead and analyze the commit that was made and leverage the LLM. It'll feed it dynamic information about the commit and other relevant information from the change. It'll analyze the code and the commit and suggest fixes, and then it'll actually create its own commit and then submit a PR. And I'll show you how that works later, integrated with GitHub. The next one we have here is Arlo for risk and mitigation. Now, this one, a lot like Arlo for incident documentation, driven by a UI action on the record, but it's not just for incidents. So this can be used for really any record in the system, and mostly useful for incidents, maybe change requests, something on the vulnerability side as well, where based on the context of the record itself, the incident, the change, the vulnerability, as well as records that it's related to, like a configuration item or maybe a business service that might be a couple hops away, it can analyze based on that context and provide information that you see here on the right, key risk factors, related record implications, the potential business impact if that data is clean and maintained in a CMDB. And so it'll give the user sort of a head start on getting a bigger picture regarding what's related to this record and how that bigger picture relates to risk and mitigating that risk. And it looks like I'm out of slides. All right, so the next thing I want to do is jump into the AI Agent Studio, and we'll take a look at our Arlos later. But I want to just explain, might be new people just getting their first glimpse at the agent framework within ServiceNow. So let's talk about it at a high level. It starts with the use cases. Now, the use cases are best thought of as orchestrators. Within these use cases, you can bury or embed multiple AI agents. A use case might be good to be thought of as a team lead, maybe a change request manager, or somebody that's, or a mechanism that is responsible for fulfilling service requests. And then your AI agents, and we'll drill into an AI agent here. The AI agents are designed to fulfill a very specific task. So something that's isolated and focused, and you could have any number of agents working within a particular use case. And that's one of the important design patterns that we've noticed, is that any LLM, AI agents included, which is really just a chain of requests and responses to and from an LLM, it has to be focused. The more instruction and information that you throw at these things, even though some of the context windows are very, very large, the more you throw at it, the less accurate they get. So this design pattern of having an orchestrator or a use case leverage many child AI agents is very, very good, considering the limitations of the technology. So let's jump into this AI agent and take a look at what we have at our disposal. So the first thing you see is we're just going to give the agent an instruction. It's the same as a prompt that you give ChatGPT. You tell it what it's going to do. And then the next thing that somebody has to do as they're building out an AI agent is give it some tools. And there's no limit as to how many tools you can give an agent, but again, it should be focused to do one thing really, really well. Now the tools can invoke change in the environment, like with a script or a subflow or a flow action. The tools can be used to gather information, like with a script or like a ServiceNow skill. It can go out to the web and make a search online. So tools are multifaceted. You can probably see here that there's a couple of tools that are missing. One would be MCP, Model Context Protocol, and another is A2A, Agent to Agent Protocol. And we'll talk about those in a second here. But as long as the use cases are designed with their multiple agents and the agents themselves are designed to be very well focused and limited in their capability, then the power of this framework can start to be realized. So I want to take another moment here to talk about those two tools that are missing. But before I do that, let's start a poll really quick to get some feedback from the audience. And by the way, if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the Q&A, and I'll get to the questions as we go, so that I don't have to talk straight for an hour. So the question is, the poll is, what concerns do you have about using AI to automate tasks within ServiceNow? All right, let's see what kind of results we got. So accuracy of AI recommendations takes the cake, and then a balance for the others. So the piece I mentioned about keeping the AI agents focused, key there, but there's other key concerns to solve for that, which we'll get into. So high level, if I were to say, all right, what does ServiceNow's AI agent framework really provide us with? It's one, the visual workflow, the visual tool aid to compose the agents and their workflows, their structure, their triggers, right? Because both use cases and agents are triggered by some event in the system, a value changing on a record in a table or something else, some other event, which is the other important piece, right? The integration hooks within the core platform itself, being driven by the stateful changes within the system. So it the other key part is the tools that we went through. It has almost all the tools that you really need at this point, and we'll get into the pieces that are being worked on currently, which we consider while we're building out agents for customers so that the newer tools as they're released, they're easily modularized, so we can just plug and play when they do become available. Now, when I compare all of this, the framework itself to something like OpenAI's Codex. Now they're very different tools, but hear me out. There's a particular flow provided by OpenAI's Codex, right? It generates tasks. You can start those tasks, and Codex will generate code, create the commits. It'll go ahead and generate the PRs, and then a human merges that PR, right? But what if you wanted to alter that flow? The real answer is you can't. You just have to wait for the next release, the next Codex release. What ServiceNow has done, on the other hand, is provide this framework to where the the flexibility is there to alter the tool to meet the desired process, leveraging almost all the same tools that OpenAI's Codex leverages. The important thing to remember about ServiceNow's approach to agentic AI is that, right, they're building this overarching framework to build out solutions. With while that framework does come with a generic ServiceNow large language model, um, it's 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 not required to use that, right? All the agentic activity, agents communicating with other agents, agents leveraging their tools, all of that information sharing uh, can leverage an external large language model, which at the end of the day means ServiceNow is providing this very flexible framework to leverage agentic AI, to use it within your processes, maybe tiny parts of the processes, maybe the whole process. But whatever the use case is, because it's embedded with the triggers and the stateful changes of the data on the platform, it can be used anywhere. And while ServiceNow is providing that framework, the other leading companies like OpenAI and Google can provide the models, and the two integrate well together. So there's one big thing to call out here, is that the current Arlos right now are designed to leverage the Now Assist skills. So what's a skill? A skill, in my eyes, I like to think of it best as a dynamic prompt generator. So you give it a template prompt, and then you pass in arguments, and those arguments can be dynamically passed in based on whatever condition and what other tools you're using, so that you have this initial prompt template and you don't need to modify it at all, right? because one of the big technical debt risks here is having many different prompts that are used to gather or to generate ideal responses, and then the overhead required to manage all of those prompts. So the ServiceNow skill, dynamic prompt generator, is a very good design pattern to limit the resources required to manage all of the prompts. And that's what all of our Arlos are based on. Those skills, they accept variables and arguments to dynamically generate those prompts. So the two tools that are missing here, one comes to mind as MCP, Model Context Protocol, and another one comes to mind is the agent-to-agent protocol. So MCP, let's start with that first. And I'm mentioning this because it's important. It's not yet available on the tool yet. We can only assume that ServiceNow is working on it, and we approach use cases with customers expecting for that functionality to be there in the future. To provide one, model context protocol for agents that are running on the platform, and also AI agents that are running external to the ServiceNow platform, because we also have to consider how agents interact with one another and other tools, and what other AI agents might be leveraging MCP to access functionality and data within ServiceNow. It's all relevant. So quick refresher on MCP. It's used to dynamically understand and retain relevant information or context during interactions. So MCP enables tools and agents to inject structured context into the model at runtime. So at the end of the day, it enables a chain of LLM requests, or an agent, because that's all an agent is, to reflect on tools and capabilities. Capabilities might be running a function, executing a method, or executing a query and searching for data. So for example, can I search for the current weather, right? That functionality might be a capability embedded within an MCP server, right? Or another function, can I change the weather? Right. And that's what MCP does for the agent. It gives it that ability to reflect on what's possible by leveraging the MCP server. So it actually asks itself the questions: can I do this? What does it do? And then with a method that actually changes the weather, that'd be cool. MCP servers provided that structure, a full description on what it does, a full description on what arguments it needs to pass to make it rainy or sunny. So that's what MCP is, and some of the reasons why it's really important is, one, it lays out the groundwork for more stateful agentic AI systems where context isn't just passed in with every prompt, but it's deeply integrated and reusable. So the MCP allows us to leverage things like Now Assist skills to dynamically generate these prompts and allow the agents to reason with their tools and come up with the best desired path on their own based on what MCP is telling it is available. And then there's multi-tool orchestration, which allows multiple tools, like maybe it's a calendar, an API, or maybe a database, right, to be surfaced to the model in a predictable way. Like, I like to think about Lego blocks, right? You know how each Lego block, most of them, are going to click together, right? There's prongs, and then male and female click, they go together. And MCP provides that for the two different parts, the agent itself and the data or functionality on the other side. Click. Now the LLM doesn't have to think about how it should investigate these capabilities. It already knows it's a Lego block. Now it just needs to inspect what it can do based on the structure provided by the other Lego block. Next is scalability, another reason why MCP is important and why it's coming to the ServiceNow platform. The reusability of it, the separation of concerns so that functionality providers can focus on their functionality, data providers can focus on their data, and then agentic AI creators can just focus on instructions and prompting. You get more modular responsibility, security is better, and the maintainability of the overarching solution is a lot better as well. And then the last piece is just control, right? Being able to control what functionality and data that the agents have access to makes it a lot easier for everybody and increases our trust as well. So the other tool that's currently missing, which again, we're always thinking about as we help customers with these use cases, agentic AI use cases, because we want to build them in a way that they're easily pluggable with the tools that are coming down the pipeline. The other tool is agent-to-agent protocol. Now, what we expect to happen is the agents on the ServiceNow platform are communicating and collaborating with agents that exist outside the platform. A2A, we expect to also drive the communication between the agents that are already on the platform. So why is this important? Defines a standardized approach for the AI agents to communicate, just like the interface with MCP. It's a defined protocol, standardized. So instead of the agents figuring out how they should talk to one another, communicate with one another, then that's less resources spent, and they can just focus on the task at hand, how they delegate tasks to one another, how they request information from one another, so on and so forth, requesting help. It's almost like at that point with A2A, you have a variety of agents and they're all working together like microservices in a mesh. Except it's not the REST protocol, it's the A2A protocol, standardizing and governing the communication. All right, so why is it important? So A2A is important. It allows those complex workflows to be broken down into specialized agents that are able to adapt dynamically. Now, why is that important? Because at the beginning we talked about the very important design pattern that RapDev tries to focus on, which is creating AI agents that are extremely focused on doing one thing very, very well. And if there's a defined protocol for that agent to interact with data and functionality, and there's also a defined protocol where that agent can easily communicate with its peers, then that improves the expected output from those agents. And then that enables scale, which is I think the most important reason to A2A is it opens the door to really an agent economy where AI services are interoperable, reusable, composable, almost like APIs. And that alone is it's the most important piece, I think, to AI really taking over the industry over the next 3 years. Its ability to simply mesh agents and base it all on a standardized protocol. Then we can have developers all over the ecosystem, ServiceNow and other ecosystems as well, just creating these agents. And then they plug into one another like those Lego blocks. And the value from these individual use cases where they start to increase the amount of productivity within our work streams and our processes, they can start to be realized across the board, not just in one place or another. So quick recap, right? MCP provides the structure to interface with the data and functionality, while A2A provides the standard communication layer. So those are the tools that are coming down the pike. Two other tools that are important. and then we'll get into a demo and see some of these Arlos in a second. Two of the things that we hear the most is, number one, I don't want to feed an LLM my data unless it's behind my firewall. Valid concern, right? So while there's Azure OpenAI and other solutions that you can just easily leverage one of the state-of-the-art models, RapDev is working on a product called Deployer. It'll be on the store shortly, which, given a virtual machine or machine server, it will simply configure a model of your choosing on that machine and hands off integrate it with the AI, the generative AI controller on the ServiceNow platform, so that the agents and the tools like the ServiceNow skill can leverage that LLM instead of leveraging ServiceNow's or OpenAI's or something else that's accessible across the internet. So that's another tool that we're working on. And then another one that we hear a lot is I want my agents to have up-to-date information from a variety of sources, not just ServiceNow. And I want that information to also be behind my firewall. Now, ServiceNow is working on improvements to their AI search capability. So currently it's really just all or nothing, right? You can use the tables or a table within the system for semantic search, AI search. And we're expecting that to become a little bit more flexible so admins can choose what columns on what tables and what attributes they actually want embedded into a vector store for semantic search, which will be great because it's a lot more cost effective. And two, you can target the information that an agent might need to search for relevant info. Additionally, the other reason why that's good is it'll all respect ServiceNow's RBAC functionality, we expect, and it'll keep information up to date for AI search as well, we expect. So yeah, that would be the ServiceNow AI search improvements. And then for the use case where information needs to stay within a network, RapDev is also working on solutions in that arena as well, so that a vector store could be spun up, configured, and already hands-off completely integrated with the ServiceNow tool. So to eliminate the strain on resources, setting up that kind of complexity while maintaining RBAC controls and indexing frequencies, embedding from sources that are relevant and not just throwing everything at it, because that would be a cost sink. So that's another thing that we're working on. The next thing I wanted to talk about is actually showing you some of these Arlos. So let's pop into another instance, make sure my session is good. And then the first one we'll take a look at is Arlo for automated pull requests. This is the one that integrates with GitHub. Yep. So what I'm going to do is pop into a change request. And just find the right one. 3003. All right, this change request is open and it was created by DevOps change velocity module. It was created automatically. The change request itself has a commit associated with it. And what I'm going to do here on this change is just click this execute Arlo automated pull request button. We'll give it a minute to think. So it's taking the context from the commit right now, sending it through the Arlo skill that was created, and getting a response back from, in our case, we're leveraging the ServiceNow large language model. And then what it'll do is generate a system note. It'll tell you what it did. So it went ahead and we have a warning in here. The content's generating using artificial intelligence. Please review the code changes. Here's the link to the PR. So I'm gonna create a new tab, head over to our PR, and now we're in GitHub. We're gonna take a look at the commit that was created within the PR. Here's the commit. So what did it do? So the ServiceNow LLM in this case was given enough context about the commit to find out that this while true loop is bad. So what it did is it fixed it so that the while true loop, it's no longer going to be infinite. It's actually going to respect the number of elements within that array, which is great news. Wonderful. So it added this commit, removed some bad code, and now the PR is open for somebody to review and approve. All right. And again, if you have questions, ask them in the chat and we'll get to them. The next one I want to show you is Arlo for risk and mitigation. So we can pop over to an incident, and let's see, SAP materials management is slow. There's an outage. It's a good one. All right, so on this incident that is in progress, there's not much information. There is a configuration item related to it. So, oh, this one has already run the Arlo for incident documentation. So it'll gather the information. It'll make recommendations as to what the current impact or urgency should be. But if I keep scrolling down, we can see a related link for risk and mitigation assistance. If I click that, it'll think for a moment. It'll send all of the context out to the ServiceNow skill, dynamically build a prompt, communicate with the ServiceNow LLM. Actually happens faster than you might expect. And it returns a new work note to explain the things we talked about earlier, key risk factors, related record implications. So it even looks into the problem, looks into the configuration item. There are no recent changes or similar incidents tied to the same CI or service. That's great. So instead of somebody actually, hopping into the wonderful service operations workspace to ascertain all of this information, like we don't even need it anymore. We just run the analysis here. If that's your risk appetite level. So, and you can see some of the other information that it provides as well. All right, next one. We want to look at Arlo for update sets. Local update sets. And we're going to, there's two different ways that we can kick this off. One, we can check a box here from the local update set list, pull this puppy down and hit print. We can hit print right here, or we can drill right into the update set. And we've got a UI action here, print. The legacy name for it was update set printer. So we wanted to keep some of that old blood. All right, and then once you're at this point where you're looking at the UI page, which is designed to really display all of the objects included within the update set, you toggle the show AI descriptions. It'll think for a moment, dynamically provide a prompt for the ServiceNow LLM and return a response. Again, happens pretty quick. And this is the response that we got. So it'll go ahead and explain what this script include actually is, explaining or removing some of the need for technical writing and release notes. All right, so that's good for demo time. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on right before we wrap up here is answering an important question that most people have is, how do I even get started on this stuff? Where should I start? What's the risk in starting? So number one, utilize the Arlo apps, get a feel for what they can do, what they're capable of. And then the other way to get started is with the RapDev AI starter pack, right? So for low cost, we collaborate with customers to identify valuable quick wins. And this is important because while these Arlos do something small and well and focused, the real value adds are by investigating what your company is doing, investigating what your processes are designed to be, what tools are supporting those processes, the people that work at your enterprise. All of those variables together make it very hard to create cookie cutter solutions for everybody. So we start with these very small and focused value adds, but the really big value adds are by meshing together RapDev expertise, our expertise on AI, the current tool set, the current feature set within ServiceNow and the rest of the ecosystem, alongside the understanding and expertise of the tool set that will exist on platform over the next couple of quarters or so, and meshing that with your understanding of your environment, your tools, your people, your processes. And with those two together, that's where the real value comes out of it. And then we can select together the key processes that we want to target first. How much of those processes we want to even make agentic? Where are humans really required? That's an important question. Is let's not boil the ocean. Get the agents to do what they need to do very well to offload the simple things and the important key decisions, approvals, things that need to be done by humans. They should be enabled to keep doing those things as long as adequate productivity is gained. So that again, that's the AI starter pack. We go in and create quick 5 agents for you, all bespoke and custom. All right, so now I really want to turn it over for questions, but I don't see any in the chat. So if you do have questions, let's go ahead and type them in so I can get to them. Give everybody a moment. All right. So let me share my screen again. We got a question that came in. Yeah, I'm gonna open the chat. We have what's Arlo in CMDB? What features are there? So in the beginning of the call, I mentioned how we're structuring the Arlo suite. So up here, you'll see really categories of where each of the Arlos would fit. So Arlo for CMDB, Arlo for SecOps. Each one of these categories could have multiple Arlo agents or Arlo skills that are embedded within them. For example, if we flew over to the ServiceNow store and took a look at which Arlos already exist up there, we've got these. One that exists within the Arlo for CMDB realm is Arlo for CI deduplication. So Arlo agentic features to automatically deduplicate CIs. Currently, that is the the feature set for Arlo for CMDB. All right, and we'll hold for a moment for more questions. So the follow-up question is deduplication analysis or remediation. So this one, the one we have currently, is designed to deduplicate the CIs by analyzing all the records that are showing up as a duplicate, creating a merge template, and then executing that merge template to merge the CIs. We are currently working on more agentic features to take that a step further, so that CMDB admins no longer have to worry about, hey, why did this CI get duplicated in the first place? So those agentic features don't exist yet. They're coming soon, later this year, to analyze and then remediate the onset of the duplication. All right, great. All right. Any other questions? What we'll do is keep our eyes and ears open for additional questions. If you think of anything between now and the end of time, go ahead and reach out to us. Send us your questions, and we can follow up and provide good answers. And if you check in the chat, we just provided a store link for the Arlos. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Talk soon.